this video, we are going to create all the API routes that you will need inside your project to call Resend and to create some operation such as sending email, creating domains, or create new API keys. At the end of this course, I'm going to give you a link to a repository when you can copy-paste the API endpoints for Next.js 14. Previously, we created an endpoint inside our Next.js 14 application to send email, and this endpoint is hard-coded. So here we've got a from address, a to, a reply to, and we even use this template that we actually use to push content and then to push as an email. What we're going to do in this video, we are going to code every endpoint possible in here from Resend, and you will be able actually to copy paste the folder if you are using Next.js 14 to send all your email through the SDK. So I'm going to use the SDK and code every endpoint for you to use it. What we're going to do, we are going to start with the email. So send and retrieve an email. Then the domains, everything about using a domain. API keys, and we've got audiences and contacts. Those are new features by the time I'm doing this video. Probably in the future it will be available for you guys. But here I will not be able to integrate it because as you can see here, is currently not even in beta. It's going to come soon, but I'm going to update my repository in the future so you can still come back to it and try to download the repository and copy paste every route. All right, so we've got this API/send folder with this route. I'm going to create a new folder called Resend. And inside here, I'm going to use the first here, which is send email. And inside this folder, I'm going to create a new folder called send email. And in send email, of course, I'm going to create a route.ts. Basically, I can just copy paste this route that we've got here, and I can remove the send folder. There we go. Okay, we're going to start with this resend, send email, and route. So you remember in the course part 3, we talked about the multiple emails that we can send. So basically we have this SDK here, resend email.send function method, where we pass arguments to it. What we would like to do is actually to use everything that is possible inside the send email. So here we see that we've got to subject, BCC, CC, reply to, HTML, text, header, attachment, etc., and turn it into a function and endpoint that will actually do everything for us. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to keep this. It's going to stay as a post. But instead of having this function, we are going to start again. And what we're going to start with is to create the interface of our props. So here I'm going to have an interface props with from, which will be a string. We're going to have the to, and remember the to can be either a string or a string of an array here. Then we've got the BCC, and BCC here is going to be, of course, optional. We've got the CC, which is exactly the same. We've got the reply to, and reply to will be only a string, and it's going to be optional, of course, also. We've got the subject, and the subject can't be optional. We got to push a subject. And at the end, we've got the content. Remember, this is the content we're going to push to our email. When we go back to it, so we can see, and then we also got HTML, so we can pass actually our HTML. So I'm going to come back here on the top and put HTML, which will be as a string. There we go. We can pass React, the React component, if we want to. Me, I'm just going to use one template, but yeah, basically you can pass it if you want. We're going to pass also the headers, and the headers are type object. So we are supposed to create a headers object here. I'm just going to put any for now. I know this is bad to put any here, but for some reason, I'm not going to go deep in the details. You can do it by your side. Okay, so then I got an attachment. So here I can use attachment, and of course attachment, it's going to be also, so I'm going to go on the bottom so I can have everything here. Attachment is going to be optional, and either it's going to be a buffer or it's going to be a string. And here we see that we don't got any type buffer. We need to put buffer with a capital letter. Then we've got tags, and here we can create another type, which will be actually a type tag. And here we've got the values, which are name and value. Both of them are strings. So we got name, which will be string, and value, which would be string. All right, we can start with that. We've got our props. So basically here inside my post, I could have everything that is here, okay? So I could have from, of course, I could have to, BCC, reply to, we could have subject, content, header, attachment. And the thing is that here on my post, it's actually not what I need to have. I need to have a request, which is a type next request. And what I need to do, so of course I need to import next request from next server on the top. What I need to do here is to transform my body. Okay, so I wait request JSON, and I need to deconstruct actually here my parameters that I would like to catch. So we've got all of them in here, and I'm going to save this, and there we go. So we've got all our parameters that we can pass to our email. So what I want to do is to check first if I got the required parameters. And remember, we've got at least the from, the to, the subject, and the content. From, to, subject, and content. So basically what I can do is just to put a guard in here and say if there is no from, or if there is no to, no CC, of course. No, not no CC, no subject, sorry. And the last one is going to be the content. I want to stop my function, so I'm going to return next response. And here I need to import next response because I don't get it. Next response, there we go. And I need to answer here as a JSON. I'm going to pass a status 422 for unprocessable entity or missing content. So here I'm going to type unprocessable entity here. There we go. Of course, you can put the message that you want related to your business. Right. Amazing. So we are using everything in here. We are ready. What we need to do also is to check if to, BCC, or CC are going to be a string or an array. And you will understand that quickly because probably, and we assume that at these steps, when you're going to send email to here, it's going to be either an array or either a string. However, if we want to hide the recipients from each other, we don't want to pass a long list of email as an array because otherwise the recipient will see it. So the thing is that here we need to check if to is an array or not, and then we're going to chain exactly like we did in the part 3. We're going to chain our promises. So here at this step, I'm going to say, hey, if array is array, if no, it's not from, it's to. It's to is not an array. I want to change to a to array. So here I need to come back and say, hey, the variable is going to be a let and not a const. Okay, so I'm doing this at first. Then I need to do the same for BCC. However, BCC here is not mandatory, it's optional. So what I need to do, I need to say if there is BCC, and I basically need to do exactly the same as up here. So here BCC, we need to say BCC is equal to BCC in here. And we want to do exactly the same for CC. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to change this for CC. There we go. So here we see that we've got an error and we see that type string array is not assignable to type string. This is because here I made a mistake. It's double question mark and there we go. So at this step, if 2 is an array, is not an array, we are going to transform it to an array. Otherwise, here in BCC, it's going to be exactly the same, and CC is going to be the same. We assume that we can probably make a mistake and send an email as a string. So here, basically, it will never be a string at this point, right? We can send a string, but we're going to transform it as an array, and you are going to see that right now. Okay, inside my try catch, I'm going to create a promisal, and this promisal is going to send all my emails. So I'm going to say const, and here it's going to be email promises, and here I'm going to create actually a new set of of the email I want to send to. Here we are removing the duplicates. So here I'm going to type a map, and in my map I want to send to recipient emails, a recipient email which will be a string. There we go. And inside here we want to return what? Well, we want to return actually our await, which is here, and we just need to change it. So I remove the await because here at this step we've got just this, and we've got code widget template, which is my template. So here, for the need of this course, I'm going just to change it to email template. Okay, and there we go. Here, this is my React email component, which is in my component folder. You can create yours if you want. I don't pass any component in here. You can do it. Me, I assume that all the email are going to have the same shape inside my app. Okay, here, after that, it's really easy. Just need to remove our element. Here, the to, it's going to be the recipient email, which is on the top. The reply to, it's going to be this. The subject is going to be the same, and the content is going to be the content here. We miss the BCC and the CC, so BCC and CC in here, and there we go. So we've got a chain of email promises where we actually remove duplicates, right? And we can send the email this way. So down here, now I need to do exactly the same as I did in the listen free. I'm going to wait promisal, and I'm going to change all my email promises that I got in here, and I can return here my responses inside my next response. Of course, here at this step, I can actually work on managing all the errors that can come from my email that I send in here. I assume here that you will do it after your call in here. You will handle your errors in here or probably in here, okay? Because I'm not going to make something custom. It really depends on what you want to do. And I assume also that you are going to use the Resend dashboard to look at every email, if every email is delivered or not, to manage the errors. But here you can continue with different operation at these steps. So I'm just letting you customize your own piece of code in here. All right, now I'm going to change that. So I'm going to go to Resend and /send email. It's going to be a post. I'm posting my body that I got there with from to BCC, CC, subject, content. So let's try. If I click, let's see if we send the email. And we have a response. Let's go to see on Resend. If I go on Resend, we've got the email that has been sent. We've got here the BCC. We've got the CC, so it worked. We've got the address, the destination address. And down here, we've got the email that I just sent with my React template. So it says that it has been delivered. Let's check this. All right, I got the email. We see here that as a to parameter, I got me, I got the CC. We've got the subject here, and we don't got, of course, the BCC. We've got hello. So everything is working well. I'm receiving my email with the image. My endpoint is working. I showed you how to create one route, and to make it faster, I created every route for the API keys, the domain, and the emails. So remember, we created this route send here, where we send emails. And I got a new route here, which is retrieve, and we can retrieve an email that has been sent using the email ID. So let's come back here, and remember we've sent this email here, and we've got as a response an ID. This UUID, we can use it to retrieve the email. And I created the route under the resend/email/retrieve. So talking about the architecture of this folder here, I followed actually the Resend architecture. So we've got emails, domain, API keys. So if I come back here and I use the email ID and I click on send, we can see here that as a response, I got the email, so the data from subject BCC, CC, and I also got the HTML of the event, and I got the delivered last event key. And we see that I can retrieve my email. So this is another route here, retrieve and send. For the domains, remember, we can also create with the API domains, delete them, list them, retrieve them, or verify. So this is great because on Namecheap, I just bought a new email and I would like to add it through my API. So when I come back to the code, I can go on domain, create here, and we see that I'm checking if there is a name or a region, and we've got as a response console log here what we've got. So if I come back to my Postman, I'm going first to list my email. So if I come here and actually I type list, okay, and I post, and actually it's not a post, it's a get, sorry. If I click here, we can see that I got only one email for now. Now I'm going to post and I'm going to go on create, and I'm going to post my domain name that is here. And if I click, it's going to create my domain, and we've got it. Look at this. So as an information, we've got the name of my domain name. We've got the records also. We've got the MX auto. Remember, those keys, we use them to verify our domain name. So we've got the TXT, we've got the TXT again down here, and we've got the region. So of course, here, I'm creating my first domain if I'm on a free plan. To create several domains, you need to have a pro plan. And when I go on the website, we can see that I got my domain code with G. Okay, so when I click on code with G, we can see that this domain is not verified yet. Finally, I created an API keys folder to create, delete, and list my API keys. Let's just look at the one to create a new API key. So it's basically always the same that we do. We call resend and API key and create. And here we need to push a name, a permission, and a domain ID. So we're going to try to do this through Postman. I'm not going to show you my domain ID. I'm going just to show you the permission. Here I give a full access, I give a name. So I'm going to try to create a new custom domain name, and we're going to see if it works. And look at this, there we go. We've got the token and an ID. And if we come back to resend, we're going to check if we got this API key on the API key tab. And there we go. We look here and we see that we have my new custom API key that have never been used with the permission full access less than a minute ago. So here we can see that we can create custom API keys for our users, for example, to give access to our Resend instance and to send email. If you look closely at my screen, you can see first that I'm on a pro plan and I got access to broadcast and audiences. By the time I'm making this video, broadcasts and audiences are only accessible in beta mode. This is going to come soon. So this is a bit of spoiler that I'm giving to you right now. And if you go to the API documentation, you can see that you've got audiences and contacts, as I said to you. But right now, the SDK is not ready yet to integrate audiences and contacts. So we just imagine that in the future, we would have an access through the Resend SDK to create new audiences and new contacts inside our application. And we will be able to create new contacts. So we imagine an email, and here actually we've got the schema on how it's going to look. You can use it via curl, okay? Here I'm not going to integrate that right now here because I will wait for the SDK to be updated. But you can still make a curl here or fetch and call actually your API here, the API of Resend, api.resend.com, and you can push an email, a first name, a last name, and here we see unsubscribed true here. And we imagine that in the future we will have a new endpoint inside this repository that I'm going to push just after for you. And in this new endpoint, we will do exactly the same as we did before with this information that we've got in here. So we will be able to add, to retrieve a contact, to list a contact, and to delete a contact. And also on audiences, we will be able to create an audience, and we could imagine definitely what means an audience here. An audience, it's actually a list of registered users. So we will be able to get an audience, to list it and to delete it. It's really exciting because we see that the Resend team is working every day to improve the product and to give us more features that are going to be very, very useful. If you are looking for all the code that I wrote during this course, you can go on my GitHub, and under the Resend Next.js 14 project, you can find all the code that you can pull. It's Guillaume Durand, Resend Next.js 14. It's pinned on my GitHub. You can go there, you can fetch it. You just have to create an env file with all the keys related to the project, and then it will work perfectly. You will have under the source folder, you will have under app, API, and Resend all the endpoints that we created today, and probably more. If you are looking this course in the future, you will add more endpoints that I will add here when they will be ready in time. Go on my GitHub, fetch the current repository, please put a star on it, and add your business logic. You're ready to use Resend directly from your API.